"It's over." That was the phrase that sent shockwaves through fans, short, direct, and impossible to ignore. It didn't come with dramatic build-up or a carefully staged reveal, but the impact was immediate. Because for years, the rumors surrounding Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson had refused to disappear, lingering in the background no matter how many times they were dismissed. And now, with just a few words, it suddenly felt like everything was about to change. The speculation had never truly gone away. Ever since 50 Shades of Grey brought them together on screen, their chemistry had sparked endless conversations about what might exist beyond the cameras. Interviews, red carpet appearances, behind-the-scenes moments, everything was examined, replayed, and analyzed by fans searching for signs that there was more than just acting between them. And while both of them consistently maintained a professional narrative, the curiosity only seemed to grow stronger over time. At first, it was harmless. Fans were drawn to the idea of two actors sharing a connection that extended beyond their roles, something that made the story feel more real, more emotionally charged. But as the years passed, that curiosity evolved into something more persistent. Every interaction became a potential clue, every shared laugh a moment worth questioning, every silence a possible confirmation of something unspoken. What made the rumors so difficult to shut down was how subtle everything was. There were no clear boundaries crossed, no undeniable evidence that pointed to anything beyond a working relationship. And yet, there was always just enough ambiguity to keep the conversation alive. A glance that lasted a second too long, a joke that seemed slightly more personal than expected, a shift in tone that hinted at something beneath the surface. Then came the interviews, moments that were meant to clarify but often did the opposite. Jamie Dornan, known for his composed and thoughtful responses, would emphasize professionalism, respect, and the importance of separating character from reality. Dakota Johnson, equally poised, would respond with humor and deflection, never giving anything that could be interpreted as confirmation. But somehow, even in the denials, fans found reasons to keep believing. Over time, the narrative took on a life of its own. It wasn't just about what they said anymore, but how they said it. The pauses, the smiles, the way certain questions were redirected or avoided altogether. It created a kind of tension that existed not in facts, but in perception, a space where imagination filled in the gaps left by reality. And once that kind of narrative takes hold, it becomes incredibly difficult to break. Behind the scenes, there were also whispers, nothing concrete, nothing ever confirmed, but enough to keep the speculation from fading. People close to the production hinted at a dynamic that was intense, complicated, or hard to define. These weren't accusations, but they added another layer to the story, one that made it feel just believable enough to keep people invested. As the years went on, both actors moved forward with their careers, taking on new roles and building lives that seemed completely separate from the world that had first connected them. Jamie focused on maintaining a balance between work and family, while Dakota explored a range of projects that showcased her versatility. On the surface, it looked like the chapter had closed naturally. But for fans, the story never truly ended. And that's what made this moment so significant. Because when Jamie Dornan finally addressed it in a way that felt definitive, it wasn't just another comment to be analyzed, it was positioned as a conclusion. A clear line drawn after years of speculation, a statement that suggested there was nothing left to question, nothing left to uncover. Yet even as those words spread, there was a strange tension in how they were received. For some, it was the closure they had been waiting for, a final confirmation that everything had always been exactly as it seemed. But for others, it only raised more questions. Because when a story has lived in uncertainty for so long, even a direct statement can feel incomplete. And that's where everything begins to shift. Because the moment something is declared over, people don't just accept it, they start asking why it had to be said at all. The moment those words settled in, the reaction didn't fade, it intensified. What was meant to close the conversation somehow reopened it in an entirely different way. Because instead of simply accepting that everything was over, people began to question what exactly had just ended. The rumors themselves, or the possibility that there had ever been something more behind them. Social media quickly became the center of the storm. Clips of Jamie Dornan's statement were replayed repeatedly, slowed down, analyzed for tone, for expression, for any hint that might reveal more than the words themselves. Some pointed out how calm he appeared, how controlled his delivery was, interpreting it as a sign of sincerity. Others focused on the precision of his language, suggesting that it felt carefully constructed rather than completely spontaneous. And in that contrast, the debate only grew louder. What made the situation even more complicated was how Dakota Johnson's silence played into everything. She didn't immediately respond, didn't confirm or reinforce the statement in any direct way. And while that silence could easily be interpreted as agreement, it also created space for doubt. Because in a narrative that had always thrived on ambiguity, even the absence of a response became something to analyze. Fans found themselves split once again, but this time the divide felt sharper. One side saw this as the long-awaited conclusion, a clear boundary finally drawn after years of speculation. They viewed Jamie's statement as honest, necessary, and respectful, a way of putting an end to a narrative that had gone too far. But the other side wasn't convinced. To them, the very need for such a statement suggested that the story had never been as simple as it seemed. There were also those who began revisiting everything with a new perspective. Old interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, even seemingly insignificant moments were pulled back into focus. But instead of looking for proof of a hidden connection, some started looking for signs of why the rumors had lasted so long in the first place. Was it purely fan interpretation, or had there been something subtle, something unintentional, that kept the speculation alive? Interestingly, the more people searched for answers, the less definitive everything felt. The statement that was meant to bring clarity didn't erase the past, it only reframed it. It shifted the narrative from, "What happened?" to, "What did we think happened?" turning the entire story into something shaped as much by perception as by reality. And once a story reaches that point, it becomes less about facts and more about belief. At the same time, there was a growing awareness of the impact these rumors may have had. For years, both Jamie and Dakota had been linked in ways that went far beyond the professional collaboration. That kind of attention can blur boundaries, reshape public perception, and create expectations that don't always align with reality. In that context, the statement began to feel less like a revelation and more like a necessity, a way to reclaim control over a narrative that had evolved beyond its original context. Yet even with that understanding, the sense of mystery didn't fully disappear. Because when something has lived in uncertainty for so long, it doesn't simply vanish with a single declaration. It lingers in the background, in the unanswered questions, in the details that never quite found a clear explanation. And for some, that lingering uncertainty is exactly what keeps the story alive. What remains most striking is how this moment changed the way people see both of them. Not as characters within a rumor, but as individuals navigating the complexities of public perception. It highlights the delicate balance between privacy and visibility, between what is shared and what is protected. And in doing so, it shifts the focus away from speculation and towards something more human, the reality of living under constant interpretation. In the end, whether the rumors are truly over may matter less than what this moment represents. It's not just about closing a chapter, but about understanding how that chapter was written in the first place. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories aren't the ones that are confirmed or denied, but the ones that exist somewhere in between, shaped by curiosity, emotion, and the need to believe there's always more beneath the surface. What remains most striking is how this moment changed the way people see both of them. Not as characters within a rumor,